Hey everyone, Iron Monk here, and today's going to be another commentary video. This one's going to be a 17 Halls of Valor. I'm running the Invoker's Delight Legendary, along with the Kyrian Covenant, so let's get into it. This first pull here is going to be a 3-pack pull, and we use Bloodlust here. There's an Howlmaster in here, as well as a couple depraved Darkblades. You want to be careful here with these Darkblades, because they do a frontal called Deadly Thrust, that could potentially one-shot you. So you just want to make sure that you're always keeping an eye on where they're going, so you don't get a one-shot. So I pop all my cooldowns here, doing some damage. Our DK tank grips them out of the Sanguine, and we're just gonna make quick work of this pack. Our tank is Venthyr, so he's gonna go over here and grab this Stoneborn. If you're Venthyr, you could control these Stoneborns, and they do quite a bit of damage. And so we get up to our second pull here. There's another depraved Darkblade. I just want to watch his Deadly Thrust, so I'm standing off to the side as much as possible. He's the only mob in this pack that could actually kill you, so you want to just make sure you're watching out for that mob here, and then while getting kicks. So these guys are about to die. I use Ring of Peace here to get them out of Sanguine, so the mobs don't heal. Our Warlock does a stun, which was probably not the greatest stun, but they didn't heal up too much, so it's not that big of a deal. And you can see the DK doing quite a bit of damage with that gargoyle that he took because he's Venthyr. So still watching out for this Dark Blade here. These Gargons here, these bears, they apply a bleed to the tank, so you slay the tank kiting around a lot. And then this Houndmaster here does this ability called Loyal Beast, which enrages these vicious Gargons, and they get empowered and do significant amount of damage. So you just want to make sure that you're watching the Houndmaster to try to get a stun on it, but you also want to kill off these Gargons as soon as possible. So the Houndmaster's casting Loyal Beast. I get the leg sweep in, and I'm just gonna sit and finish off the Houndmaster right now. Or just try to cleave them both together. And this will be our first prideful. We'll be at over 20%, so we'll get our first prideful of the dungeon here. So the thing with prideful is it's never good for everyone to save their cooldowns on a prideful. One, your healer is going to hate you, and then two, you're likely to wipe, especially on a hierarchy if this thing lives too long. I wouldn't say everyone commit their cooldowns to a prideful, but at least one person should take the hit in overall DPS to commit cooldowns to a prideful. So we're gonna just finish up this prideful, then we'll be getting into our first shard. This dungeon has three shard mobs in the dungeon, and you have to kill all 3 before you can activate the first boss. I think on this one here, no one committed their cooldowns to this. That's why it's at max stacks, and it was at 15% health or whatever. So we get into our first shard here. That big robot mech looking thing does this ability called Thrash, where he slams the ground and does AoE. If you're a range player, you can outrange it, but I want to stay in, so I will be taking a lot of damage. I would highly recommend taking Dampen Harm in this dungeon over Diffuse Magic, just for this cast that he's doing right now called Thrash. I'm going to Karma the first one, and if he does another one, I think I hit Dampen Harm. The reason I take Dampen Harm over Diffuse Magic in this dungeon is because that Thrash is physical, and Diffuse Magic won't mitigate it at all, because that only mitigates magic damage. So we finish up our first shard, and we're making our way over to our second shard. Actually, we do another pull here. Another Darkblade in this pack. Again, careful on these things. And another Houndmaster with some Gargons, so you want to be pretty careful here. The Houndmaster also does a frontal called Rapid Fire that you want to watch out for. I'm not sure what just hit me there. Could have been the frontal. So I just want to watch the frontal from the Houndmaster and the frontal from the Darkblade and try to get as many kicks as possible on the Depraved Obliterator, because those Wicked Bolts actually do hurt the tank quite a bit. Loyal Beast was about to go off on the Houndmaster. I get the leg sweep in, I know our tank's just trying to stay in as much as possible. I have no idea. Oh, I think I got hit with the frontal. See, I'm even making mistakes too. So just trying to watch out for that deadly thrust. I'm trying to get a kick on the Obliterator so he comes in. The tank grips him out. It's very hard to watch that that deadly thrust cast, especially if the tank's kiting and you're trying to follow the pack of mobs. You're likely to get hit, which I got hit, I think, multiple times on that pack. So bad play by me for sure. I also have an ability tracker in the bottom right of the screen. If you're curious about what I'm doing and per pack, the bottom right of the screen shows what abilities I'm using. So we do a 4-pack pull here. I have no idea what happened to that Obliterator, but he's all the way up in the air. We CC one of the casters here because 3 casters is a lot, and we're gonna chain that last caster in with the shard. Watch out for the deadly thrust, trying to get kicks when I can. And we're just gonna finish up this pack pretty quickly, and then we're gonna get into our second shard. Now I do have Karma and Dampen up. I will always prioritize using Karma over Dampen because of it reflects some damage to the mob. Oh, we're actually going to do the Obliterator with the Pride, which is fine. Make sure we get the kick on the Obliterator to get him a Sanguine. This Pride's dying pretty fast, so I think someone used cooldowns on it. I think the Warlock popped his cooldowns on this thing. Alright, and then we're going to chain. We have our prideful buff. We're going to chain into the shard here. So I think I used Karma on the Pride, so all I have left is Dampen Harm, which I use. No, I got bark skinned by the healer. Healer used bark skin on me, so I did not use Dampen Harm yet. It's if you don't need to, another good thing in dungeons is not to overlap cooldowns. It's better to use cooldowns as separate as possible than just using them all, because you can over mitigate damage too, and it's unnecessary. So I popped Dampen Harm on this Thrash because the previous one, the healer used an external on me. For this next one, I don't have anything up, so hopefully we kill it. The range are just staying at range for the most part, not taking any damage. The healer's in range right now to help heal me. I think he's just going to heal me through this. Yeah, I just got some big heals here. I use Touch of Death to finish off the shard. So the route we do here, we're going to get a lot of trash and we're going to skip a lot later on. Here's another pack with a Dark Blade, Obliterator, and some Gargans. We do have the prideful buff, so we should be able to burst this down really fast. Doing a lot of spinning crane kicks here. Loyal Beast. This one didn't go. Oh, never mind. The DK stunned it with Asphyxiate. We're trying to do some good Sanguine management here. Make sure that we don't Ursul's too late so the mobs don't get back into Sanguine. Tank has the kite out because of the bleed. Does a good job with gripping that deadly thrust, keeping the mobs spread out as possible so they don't heal up, and that was pretty good. He's going to grab the Stoneborn again. Having a Venthyr in this dungeon is actually huge. He'll do a lot of damage on this pack here with the Stoneborn. You actually lose the percentage when you take the gargoyles in this dungeon. So if your route includes gargoyles, then either find some other trash or don't take the Stoneborns, the gargoyles, because they don't count as percent when you MC them as a Venthyr. So we're at 63% trash. We're on our third Pride. I use Karma, get some extra damage in. And after this, we're going to go into the last shard before the first boss. We also have Bloodlust coming off cooldown in about 30 seconds. I believe that we bloodlust the first boss here. I have all my cooldowns coming up. I use a Hellstone here. I don't think anyone committed anything to this. See, this is the bad situation that you get into where you have max stacks, which is 20 on the pride, and then he still had a lot of health. I committed dampen harm there too, so I have no defensives for this shard. We'll see how this goes. I think the healer is just going to pump some big heals into me. But I have full cooldowns for the whole pack, so we should do some pretty good damage on here. Yep, healer's just going to heal me through. Looking back on this pack right now, I'm doing a terrible job with not kicking anything. I should have interrupted something, especially that collect sins cast on the collector. I was just kind of focused on taking down the shard as fast as possible. Oh, I almost got meleeed to death. Another Houndmaster and Gargant in this pack, so the tank's staying in there as long as possible. He's going to have to cut out soon due to the bleed. Loyal Beast. I use Paralyze on it. Paralyze stops that cast as well as Leg Sweep. I'm pretty sure you can Ring of Peace it as well, but I didn't use Ring of Peace on that because it wasn't up. Use Ring of Peace to get the Houndmaster out of Sanguine. You can see the DK Mask Grip out of Sanguine. And he's going to keep cutting these things around. So after this, we're actually going to get the pack in front of the boss, and we're going to bloodlust and pride the boss. Oh, actually, never mind. We get our 80% pride here. And then we'll go into the pack in front of the boss after we finish up these groundkeepers and the 80% prideful mob. These packs are pretty easy. They do some damage to the tank. They do this ability called Smack to the tank. So here's our 80% prideful. I pop Storm Earth and Fire on it. You never want to sit on 2 charges of Storm Earth and Fire. So if you're about to cap on your 2 charges of Storm Earth and Fire, you always want to make sure that you're using one. You never want to cap. You never want to be at 2, because you're just wasting charges of Storm Earth and Fire throughout the dungeon. I use a Healthstone here. See, this is another bad situation here where we're at max stacks and he still has quite a bit of health left. And that was because and I got sniped by the mage. A lot of that mage was holding all his damage there. I'm not sure if that was the play or not. So we're going to get a res here. We still have our prideful buff. Our DK is going to grab the Stoneborn here. I'm going to pop cooldowns here to kill this pack pretty quickly. There is the 3 mobs over and over again in this dungeon. There's going to be a Houndmaster, an Obliterator, and then the Dark Blade who does the frontal, as well as some Gargans. So you want to just watch the frontal again. We finish up that pack really fast. We're going to go into the boss. This boss here does a slam on the tank, so you never want to stand on the tank. And then he'll pick a random spot to drop. I guess it's glass shards on the ground. You don't want to stand in any of that stuff on the ground, basically. And you don't want to stand on the tank. We use Bloodlust here. And then he does like this AoE this ability here, refracted sin light. Basically, you want to just make sure you're not in the lines there and not standing in anything. So it's up to, a lot of this is on the tank positioning here, that he's moved properly so there's room to move around the boss when he does that ability. Just want to make sure that you're not on the tank. So we have our tank marked with the blue square. I just want to make sure that I'm not on top of him. This boss is actually pretty easy. As long as the positioning is fine, this boss is one of the easier bosses in the dungeon. So he's going to do it again, this refracted sin light. Going to make sure we're spread for quaking here. We're in good position. Sometimes he reverses his direction, so you got to be aware. It doesn't always turn in the same direction. Sometimes he reverses, and that's something you got to just be aware of. I don't want to be on the tank. And this guy's going to go down pretty easily here. I do have Touch of Death up. I believe I use it here. Yep, Touch of Death to finish off the boss. I believe we do one more pull here. We have a lot of percent. We'll be skipping a lot later on. So there's 2 obliterators here, 2 casters, which you want to try to get interrupts on, and then 2 dark blades who do deadly thrust. So always make sure, again, my positioning is behind these guys. Don't want to get frontaled. That guy is stunned and sanguine. I'm going to finish up this obliterator because he's low in the back. And I believe after this we do a skip to the second boss. 94%. I think I messed up here. I don't have an invis, but I do have an invis belt from engineering, which shouldn't be relied upon. If you are trying to do invis skips, the invis belt can backfire and it won't work. So if you're going to do an invis skip, just get the potion. The belt is not reliable. But I didn't have a potion, so luckily my belt did work there. My engineering belt enchant. Our tank had to die anyway, so we're going to res him up, and then we're going to get into the boss. This boss here can get out of hand. What he does, he spawns these ads that you need to kill. These ads then turn to stone, and then one person will get a circle around them, and you want to position that circle over the ads, and then the boss will leap up and shatter all the ads. If the ads aren't shattered, they'll come back to life. So he does this stone call here. We'll have the ads come in. I don't have cooldowns for this. We get a grip on them. They should die pretty fast here. So there's the circle here. You want to make sure you kill the ads. Some of them lived, but we shattered most of them. And then he also does this ability called Blood Torrent. We should be baiting this out to the outside, so stuff's not all dropped in the middle. But we did okay there on the first one. We have no Bloodlust, no Prideful here. We're just going to kill this boss straight up, but nothing else. I did a bad job of baiting that blood pool out too. Ideally, you should be looking at the timers on DBM to see when Blood Torrent's coming out, and then positioning yourself on the edges of the room so the middle's clear. Alright, I do have cooldowns here. We try to get the ads as gripped as possible. And we're going to kill all the ads here. We have another Blood Torrent coming out in about 2. I guess the DBM timer was a little bit off there. There it is. See, if you're range, you should be standing on the edges of the room. He's a little bit close to the middle. That went on the mage there. You have another Blood Torrent at about 8. We got another set of ads here coming out. So a way that you can group in these ads don't actually start casting until you hit them. So if you don't hit them until they run all the way in, you can get them really grouped up. But I think we just AoE a little bit early there. And I get slammed. You never want to stand in. If you're the person with the circle or don't have the circle on you, you should definitely not be in the circle when he jumps up and slams. Because this boss puts a curse on you, it freezes you in place. I think druids can dispel the curse. You could also use the Kyrian file to get the curse off of you. And we kill that boss here. So you use a Kyrian file to get the curse off of you, and you won't get stunned there. We do another skip here. We're gonna pray to the RNG gods about the invis belt working. Actually, I think we're gonna death run here. So our healer is a druid, so he's sneaky boy. He's gonna sneak up to the next boss area since we have 94% trash. I'm going to use Tiger's Lust, and I'm going to use my Invis Belt and see if that works. So Tiger's Lust, oh, and I did get the Invis off. This is a pretty long skip here, so I think without somebody who could stealth through and res, it's a pretty hard skip. I was able to use Tiger's Lust to get a speed boost, and I make it the whole way. Somehow our Warlock gets meleeed by the boss, but our healer is still alive, so we're going to get the res up on everyone. This next boss here is in my opinion the easiest boss in the dungeon. You just have to kick his casts. He'll periodically spawn these fixate ads that need to be kited into one of the pillars or urns on the edge of the room. And then you watch the AoE on the ground. That's pretty much it. This boss is pretty much a face roll. So we're just going to kick the boss. So there's like little pillar things on the edge of the room. That's where you want to kite the ads into. Hopefully he doesn't pick me. Nope, pick somebody else. So he's going to just get that ad kited into one of those urns or pillars. And then you just want to watch the AoE on the ground. It's a pretty easy boss. And that he's already done every ability he's going to do in this fight. Just gonna watch my feet here, make sure I don't get stuck in any of these AoE effects. It can pick the tank too. Right there, our tank got fixated on. He just went over to one of those pillars. Looks like we missed an interrupt there. Again, I'm just watching my feet here so I don't get caught in the AoE. This one's fixated on me. I'm just going to roll over to the pillar so the ad gets kited into it. Again, like I said, this is by far, this might be one of the easiest bosses in any dungeon. So after we get done with him, now we're on to like the mini boss area. This is the last area before the last boss in the dungeon. And what you want to do here is focus down the audience, these tormented souls, because you can't actually kill this mini boss here until these tormented souls die. So once you kill these tormented souls, they spawn these fixate ads. You just want to be careful that you don't get meleeed to death by them, but you'll see me working on the audience here. Everyone should be focusing down these tormented souls here, because this boss isn't going to die unless they're dead. So you'll see me just running over and just killing these tormented souls. I do have some ads that are fixated on me, but I use karma and I try to run them back into melee for the tank to pick up. But they do fixate, as you can see the one that's on me right now. Just trying to finish up the audience. There's still one audience member in the front, and I think there's one in the back. And then you just want to get kicks on this guy and just AoE everything down. I pop cooldowns here to try to get everything down. And then going into the last boss, we'll have the prideful buff and bloodlust, so he'll die pretty quickly. So here's our 100% trash prideful mob. We have all the trash in the dungeon we need. So we just kill this and we're gonna get into the last boss. I think everyone holds their cooldowns here for the last boss, which is, like I said before, not always the best thing to do. I don't really have anything up really. I probably could have used Storm, Earth, and Fire here, which I should have. I was just playing a little greedy here. Actually, we did okay here. So, after we finish up this guy, we're going to get into the last boss, which is Lord Chamberlain. He does a few abilities. One of the abilities he's going to do is called kinetic toss, where he grabs one of these statues and throws them across the room. You could always tell where the statue is going because it'll always go towards the face of the statue itself. So you just don't want to be where the statue is facing. So kinetic toss. I almost get hit by that one. I'm waiting on cooldowns here. He does this kinetic onslaught where he'll put all 4 of them together and then he'll shoot them out. And then he does this other ability called Ritual of Woe, where it's a soak mechanic. The tank can soak usually 2 of them if they're positioned correctly. So our tank is soaking 2 right now, and then we have the healer and the mage on the other 2. I could have taken one with Karma for a little bit more damage. So if the kinetic onslaught is like this, you could just stand in the middle here, like I'm doing right now, to get more uptime on the boss. It's kind of spooky, but it can be done. I Karma this soak here. And no one's soaking that other one. It's ticking down on the group. I health pot and healthstone here to help the healer out. And we're just gonna finish off this boss quite easily. Does the kinetic toss. I make sure I'm not in front of that statue. Does this other ability. It's just an AoE. You just want to get out of it. Another kinetic toss. Make sure that we're careful not to get hit by that. And he does this Unleash Suffering cast, which is a frontal. And that's it. 17 Halls of Atonement. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to check me out on Twitch, you can find me at twitch.tv/IronMonkTyson. I'll post a link in the description below. And that was it. 17 Halls of Atonement. 7.7k overall. Not a bad dungeon. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next video.